Hi again, folks. Sci-Fi Scavenger here. Today I'm going to review, again, review is a rather strong term for it. I'm going to expound on my thoughts on a book, and that book is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I wasn't particularly expecting to like it, but we'll see. So, as I say, the author's Becky Chambers. It was just over 400 pages. And published, I think self-published initially in 2015. So the basic premise of the story is, actually before I go there, some books, I always think of an author with kind of several levers that they can pull at their disposal for how they're going to work the book, and some are, if there's a character and a plot lever, they can be at various positions for the story, and then there's a peril lever as well, and some books have the peril lever at maximum. This book, there's very little peril. There's not a lot of plot. It's not fair to say there's no plot, but there's not a lot of plot. It's very character driven, and that would be a theme that comes through the rest of what I'm going to say, I think. But anyway, so the premise of the story, the crew of the Wayfarer, that's the name of the ship, which is almost a character in itself, actually, including new crew member, Rosemary Harper. She's the, well, if I call her the main character, that's maybe not fair, because the rest of the characters are pretty well rounded as well, but it's probably just by a nose the main character. But anyway, so the crew, including Rosemary, who's just joined them, is given a job to do, which is their line of work, but this is a particularly lengthy job, to build a hyperspace tunnel to a new, or putative new member of the so-called Galactic Commons, which is like the Federation in Star Trek, if you like. So that's that planet is on the edge of that Galactic Commons, and so it's going to be a long tunneling job, the long way of the title, in fact. So that's their job they've got to do, and that's the sort of purpose that they have for the duration of the story. But it's, as I said, the plot's, that's about as much plot as there really is. I mean, things happen to them along the way, and so it's not true to say that there's no plot, but it's more of a MacGuffin, a device, a framework, a skeleton even, on which the rest of the story is hung. The essence of the story is about friendship, about love, the nature of family and love, and at the risk of revealing my hand, it's rather adorable, which isn't something you'd usually hear me saying about anything, never mind a book. So what else we got? What's my favourite spaceship? Oh no, beg your pardon. What's my favourite character? Well, like I said, all the characters are pretty well rounded, and they're a pretty likeable bunch for the most part, and even the ones that you're initially teed up not to like, eventually have a sort of redemption arc. But if push, I'd say Ohan, who's a so-called Syniate pair. The original Ohan was paired with an alien, and they have a symbiotic relationship. I wasn't entirely clear, maybe I missed it, what the nature of that relationship is, or in fact what the nature of the alien is. I couldn't decide if they were sort of a virus or a bacteria or an actual kind of creature that's somehow inside them. But anyway, whatever. This character Ohan is it reminded me of Marvin, the paranoid android from Hitchhiker's Guide. He always had a sort of fatalistic, we're doomed vibe going on. And as the book goes on, it becomes clear that they're in some jeopardy because the symbiotic relationship greatly reduces the lifespan of his species. So one of the nice threads in the story, which kind of comes to a nice conclusion towards the end, is how they get out of that pickle, as how Ohan gets out of that pickle, and or rather is helped out of it because he's not interested. because part of the way that symbiotic relationship works is a sort of is almost like a religious kind of cult aspect to it, and he's just willing to accept that a short life is that's his lot, what the universe has prepared for him. So anyway, he's helped out with that. But as I said, I could have picked really any of the characters. They're all pretty good. Favourite spaceship is definitely the Wayfarer. So that's the as I said, one of the characters that were the home for this crew. There are other spaceships in the story, but this one is they're kind of sketches at best, and the Wayfarer is kind of coloured in pretty well. It's a fixer-upper. With sort of that's had parts and extra pieces bolted onto it over time as the skipper can afford it, and you get the impression that it's held together with yes, with the skills of the crew, but also love fundamentally. Is there so filth level, the smut level is low in this book, probably driven by the fact that I suspect it was aimed more at young adults audience than old farts like me. So there's it's nearly all left to the imagination, but by the end of the book, nearly everyone is at it with somebody else, including suitably diverse and inclusive interspecies action. Even the ship's AI is at it by the end of the book. It's all done in soft focus. There are no messy details as you'd expect, and I suppose the only thing to say is, given the human-alien hookups, of which there are 2 that I remember counting, the anatomically curious might be disappointed. Science fiction, kind of high concepts, there aren't any, none. It's kind of what you see is what you get. There is the hyperspace tunnelling thing, but that's treated very matter-of-factly. It's a job like, I don't know, laying a railway or something. It's mundane in that sense. It's mostly left unsaid how it's actually achieved. One of the crews, so the previously mentioned Ohan, because of I couldn't work out if it's because it's endemic, it's kind of innate to his species, or if it's because of the symbiotic relationship that he has with the other species. He's there. His reason for being on the crew, his job is to navigate them through that process in subspace. So that's his role on the ship, and that seems to be a means available only to his species. Once the tunnel's built, then other ships can fly through that hyperspace route. They're sort of building the road, if you like, for other people to travel down. What did it remind me of? Well, actually a bunch of things. 3 things. So it reminded me of the TV series Firefly, from Joss Whedon's Firefly back in the day. I expect you've watched that. Because of the crew interactions, the scenes that were often brought to mind were the sort of common room scenes where they were having dinner or something like that, and the interactions between the characters. There's quite a lot of that going on in this book. And the sort of the nature of the ship as well. The Firefly was often a bit dinged up, and if it went wrong, the cute mechanic, would sort of bang it with a hammer to fix it. There was an element of that as well. It most strongly reminded me of the Share books. Excuse me, the Share books by Nathan Lowell. Interestingly, he also self-published initially before getting a deal. Similar plot mechanism in that not a lot happens. All of the story is about how the crew get on together, and they're developing relationships, friendships, and deeper than that between the crew. And the other thing it reminded me of a bit was The Expanse, both the books and the TV series, and mainly or entirely the found family aspect of it. The fact that the crew of the Rocinante sort of become more than just a collection of misfits. They have each other's back, and they add to it. People get bolted into the crew from time to time. There's a similar sort of vibe going on, and I think that was my favourite thread of that series. Actually, the rest of it, the sort of species ending peril of it was sort of neither here nor there for me. It was the thing that I remember, the plot elements I remember are the found family piece. Any mind-bending aspects to it? No. Zero. Very linear, straightforward. What you see is what you get, which is okay. I'm quite happy not to be challenged when I'm reading a book. Favourite scene? Well, without giving too much away, there's an unexpected turn of events, let's put it that way, fairly dramatic one near the end of the book, which results in a bit of a HAL 2000 moment, sort of akin to the Space Odyssey, with the ship's AI, who, as I said, is a pretty well-rounded character in the book, which has other consequences, and I thought that was handled pretty well. Did I enjoy it overall? Somewhat to my surprise. I really did. It's a bit sappy, soppy, but the characters are well developed, and as I've said, the relationships, the sense of developing friendships, and the connection between the crew and the captain and each other, I think they're strongly done. It's nice. It's nice. Nice is sometimes used to give sort of faint praise, but it's nice. It's a feel good book ultimately. As I said, there's not much in the way of jeopardy. It's not that there's none. There's a couple of dramatic moments, but there's not a background of civilization ending, sort of alien invasion or asteroid strikes, or I don't know, vampires, or whatever the hell. There's none of that. It's just rather hopeful. I think that's the right word for it. It's optimistic, feel good. I was a little bit snobby about it before reading it, thinking that it probably wasn't aimed at a sort of cynical 50-something bloke. But I'm glad I read it. And I definitely will hit the rest of the series up once I get it all. I'm missing book 2 at the moment, so that'll have to wait. But definitely I like what I read. It's nice. It's not a difficult read. Bash that out in a couple of days. Will I read it again? I wouldn't rule it out. Maybe. Definitely I liked it enough to plough on with the rest of the series, between other things. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would recommend it, unless you are cold and dead in the heart. I imagine that 99.9% of us aren't. So, read it. I think I'm not surprised that it's done as well as it did. I'm not surprised that it was picked up for being published once she'd self-published and a bunch of people recommended it to their friends. So solid, overall a solid 7, I think, out of 10. Maybe even a little bit better, but definitely a solid 7. I really liked it. I think if you haven't already read it, you should give it a go. If you're a 17-year-old girl, you should definitely read it. But for the rest of us, I think give it a crack. I must be a bit of an old softie in my old age, but I really liked it. So that's that review. My thoughts, at least, on that book. Hopefully, if you haven't read it, hopefully there aren't too many spoilers in there. We'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. If you've made it through to the end, doubly appreciated. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and do let me know in the comments if you read it and what your thoughts on the book were, if you liked it, or to give me some feedback on this review alike. But other than that, I'll be back again soon with what will probably be another haul video. Alright, I shall see you soon. Bye bye.